visuals. Welcome to the Creative Nexus, man. How are you?
Good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Man, it's a pleasure, man. Like I said, it's like having a celebrity with you right now, dude. Honestly, man, it's
This is so dope in here,
it's
dude.
sick, it's sick,
This
huh?
setup is so
So
sick.
it's like you said, man. Like I was like, if you're gonna do it, you have to go all in.
Yeah.
You know, it's not another way.
I was talking to one of my boys before he came down. I was like, man, I know I'm gonna go down here. This is gonna be next level.
It
Because
is,
I
I
just
mean,
know,
shit.
I just knew, like how you just do everything like
I
super high
appreciate it. You
quality.
have
and
to,
stuff,
man. You
so,
have to. You have
yeah.
to take your time in it, you know. And I mean, yeah, I have to because I mean, you told me you drove like an hour and a half, you know. So it's not like
like I drove to LA. It's the same thing as I say. I love San Diego, even though it was all
Nice,
foggy on the
nice.
way down.
Yeah, I know, dude.
But it
No, I
was
knew I have to
cool,
put my
yeah.
name out there. You know, he has to be
No.
the first one. You know, new setup. We're working with my boy Chris right there.
I appreciate
It's something
that,
you
man.
have to go all in, bro. Absolutely.
I know it's like I'm excited to see this kind of like grow.
Thanks, man.
And this is really dope.
Thank you,
So,
bro. I appreciate it. And for
yeah.
sure, like I mean, the reason I brought you here is because like we were talking about this right now. It's people doesn't know too much about yourself, right? I mean, they know your work, but they know too much about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think is people need to know that from you, right? So
Yeah.
I guess like the first question I want to ask you, I mean, is when it comes to your style, how you developed your style? How do you find it?
You're talking about creatively. So it just kind of evolved over time, man. I think I started off when I very first started, I was just like literally just shooting my sneakers. If you like
Mhm.
scroll back through my feed, it was just like I was like learning on. I just had like a Nikon D3500, and I was really into like streetwear. And at the time,
saw that.
I was just doing graphic design at the time. I had never picked up a camera, and I was just like super into streetwear. And like I feel like just Instagram was growing, and I saw streetwear influencers, and it was like stuff I'd always been into, and I was like, oh, this is like. I'm picking up a camera and I'm like, man, this is just Photoshop and like,
Mhm.
editing photos is kind of the same thing. Cause I know Photoshop
Yeah.
from design,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's kind of how it started. I started shooting shoes, and then like I was kind of seeing these like, I started posting some of that, and like started hashtags kind of rolling in where I'm like, kind of like the way I was shooting, like was kind of like in a street style. It was like there was guys that were just like into streetwear, but like was shooting like streetwear photography. Like I forget some of the guys I was following at the time, but and they lived in like huge cities like SF and like LA and New York and like doing all this crazy stuff. And I was like, dude, this is so cool. Like this is like cool.
Something you want to learn.
Like, yeah, because for me, like photography is always like senior portraits or like
Yes, the basic
weddings
stuff.
and like it
Weddings,
was
yeah,
always
nah.
like cool. Like I was like,
But you only can
whatever.
do so much with
I
that,
never
you know?
saw that side of photography that was like damn, this is dope, like this is like a cool version of this, like. And it was kind of like whenever I was kind of ruled into what I was doing, so it kind of like just like evolved in that. So I just kept doing it, and like just I don't know, I just kind of grabbed me, and then like
Nice.
it evolved from just like me just shooting my outfits to me just shooting in
saw you
places,
with some,
like,
shoes of
yeah.
yourself. You shoot yourself too, right? Somehow.
I was at the beginning,
Mhm.
I just shooting on a tripod or like setting my camera up on a timer somewhere.
Nice.
Like, and this is kind
The
of
way to
like,
go.
this
Just
is kind of
learning.
like 3 years ago whenever it was still kind of like embarrassing to
No,
like
it
set your
was, like,
camera up
no
by your,
shit,
you know what I mean?
yes,
Like it
dude,
wasn't
yes.
like, now you walk around, everyone's just
Everybody's
like,
doing the camera,
"Oh."
yeah.
You like walk like, a Whole Foods and someone's taking, tripods up in front of it or
Everybody-
something, like,
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah, it's like,
So you
and
mentioned you've been doing this for 3 years, you said?
I've been doing photography, man, it's hard to say. So I've been in LA for like 4 years now.
Okay, 4
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Nice. Same as me, dude. Same as 4 years.
Well,
3
4
and a
years.
half, 4. I think
Yeah.
that's what it takes to somebody to like, quote unquote, make it, to actually know,
What's really
become a quote
making
unquote.
it? You
Yeah,
know?
no, I go back more like mastering your craft somehow.
Right, yeah.
Right. Like take like 3 years for me to like actually know what I'm talking. I feel more confident now. you know,
Right,
like,
right,
when it
yeah.
comes to-
I mean, like I was just. It took me probably like almost a year till like I even like really wanted to shoot someone else. Like,
No way.
even though I hate saying shoot someone else. It
Yeah,
sounds
I
always
know,
sounds
it's like
so
shoot-
weird. It always
I
sounds so
know, dude.
weird.
Same, dude. Same.
But yeah, until I was able to like. Well, I started dating a girl at the time, and she wanted to like start growing up her Instagram. So I
Nice.
started like that's kind of how I started shooting someone else. I would shoot her like her fitness stuff, and she wanted to do like workout videos. I'm like, well, let me just do it on the camera. Like it'll be higher quality. Like maybe you'll
Yes.
get. And everyone was kind of like doing the like. I feel like the fitness influencers kind of found the low depth of field stuff, like for
Yeah.
their like workout videos, and it was like it looked high quality. So I was like, oh, let me do this. So. I mean, I pretty much had this like person to like just practice on, and then myself
Good,
too. So
good.
I went out and started doing that, and then it kind of evolved from just like sneakers and outfits to like me shooting. I started with like I actually, the city I moved to LA from was in the middle of nowhere. It's like a college town, and I was like super into like the street stuff.
Nice.
So what I would do is every weekend I would get in a car and drive to Kansas City.
Oh shit!
Like 3 hours
How far
away.
was the drive? No,
I swear. Like, I get my every weekend,
right
dude.
No,
every weekend,
dude.
And I would drive up there. I'd met somebody on Instagram that was from there, and we would just run around Kansas City, and we'd like we'd go up through the apartment buildings, like to the top, and get on the roof, you know. And like,
I like the best part when it's like you're learning.
And it was just pure joy. Like it was pure. Like, and I remember it just grabbed me, man. It was like I was just obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Like, and then I. So I feel like I'm pretty good at this, you know. And obviously my edits and everything were trash, but like I just enjoyed it so much.
I mean,
I
was looking through your stuff all the way to IG, and then you definitely have a talent, man. You can see like even your first pictures, like, damn, this is pretty good. Like,
I tried to not like delete my stuff either. You can go back like way and like kind of see, even when I was just posting graphic design stuff.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I always kind of like wanted to keep that there, like more like for myself to be like, remember, like, dude, like. Where you were, like, yeah, like you should be running around Missouri, dude. Like, and it's cool sometimes, like reflect, like, you know, sometimes when you feel like you're not doing enough or you can do more, to like look back and be like, dude, look how far I've come in like such a short period of time, you know, like.
It is short 4 years, man. Like, it's the same as me, man.
Yeah, like and even like just, I mean, I've only been in LA for like 2.5 years, like, and I work at an agency and stuff, and
nice,
just like.
And how was the transition though, like from a freelancer to like work with an agency now?
Well, it was like, it was tough. Like, so, you know, once I started networking before I moved to LA. I'll just kind of like go back and into that. But whenever, you know, before I came out, like me and the girl I was dating at the time, we were coming out here like every couple of months or something. So I would set up stuff, like, that's how I met Quest. Like, I just found him on Instagram. We started chat back and forth. We linked up once when I was out here just visiting. And like, I, you know, just networked with some other guys. There was another guy I was talking a lot with, and we ended up shooting a lot whenever I first came to Cali, and showed me around LA and stuff. It was really cool. Him and I were like super tight when I first moved out here. But and then so like when I came out here, I had a little bit of a network. I had something to work with when I started out here. And then, you know, I just would go to LA every single weekend. Like, I know downtown LA from the first year, like crazy, dude. And I would like I was living in Huntington at the time.
That's insane.
And I just like networked.
Really?
That's all I wanted to do.
Are you confident when it comes to that? Like
networking?
Talking to people?
Oh yeah, like I still meet up with people. Like,
nice.
They're like, you know, I usually talk with them for a bit and then like kind of feel them out.
Oh,
like,
okay.
And just like say, oh, okay, this is cool. Let's go, you know, link or something. Nice. And I mean, that was like, I met so many people in the first year, and I just, I was just any chance I could, like, to get a network or go shoot or like do whatever. And then I started like getting clients and stuff like that, and just like putting my work out there, and like I was doing a lot of reaching out and stuff. And obviously still like just trying to grow, like, and then I eventually became to a point where it was enough to where I was doing it like freelance, you know. And I did that for a little bit, and then at the time I wanted to travel. That was like my thing.
I've seen your work. There's a lot of traveling, huh?
Yeah, like so I was, you know, I was doing a lot of free stuff to kind of like, I knew I had to like show what I could do, you know, like that. And then, you know, some stuff brands would be like, oh, can you do that? Like, oh, when's your next trip? And then like Movement was sending me stuff.
Let's
and
go,
like, oh, when's the next time you're going here? And I'm like, okay, and like hit us up when you're going here. We'll give you this. And I was like,
the
all right,
big
cool.
local brands, right? They were
like Movement's pretty big in LA. Yeah,
it's huge, bro. It's
and
huge.
I didn't really it wasn't ever really that big of a deal. Like, I think some people, I mean, someone would be like, oh, you're doing this in Movement. Like, man, it always looks crazier than it is. They just would send me your watches, you know?
Yeah,
like,
right.
it wasn't that big of a deal, you know? Like,
the same thing
for me too, it was like, it was cool. Like, oh, you know, because like some of the biggest creators I really looked up to at the time were like doing that stuff, and it was cool just to, like, for me to kind of like for me to be in my mind to be like, oh, that's cool to kind of see my work kind of like
they
that,
appreciated
you know?
your work, you know.
And they still share some of my stuff sometimes, but they had this one I took in like downtown LA. They always I've been posted. I'm always like, man, dude, that's so like so cool. They still recycle that content, dude. It's so cool. So when they do that stuff.
And which one was your first big brand that you work with? That you're like, oh shit.
That was one of the biggest ones, but
And were you nervous when they reach out to you and they were like, oh, we want this for you, or they were like, oh, do your thing?
Oh, whenever they like when I first came out here, I was like, every time someone like of any kind of like stature would give me something, I'd be like, dude, oh my god, I gotta do something crazy.
Yeah,
I gotta go to like the desert, or I have to go to like
you want to over deliver.
Yeah, I gotta like make it a plan to like I gotta freaking make a trip for this, or like I always like I gotta like, for me too, like my creative process was always like, okay, I'll do like the clean, because that's kind of like my bread and butter, is more just like clean, like like creative shots. It's like, yeah, it's
there's
like
a process behind it.
But like, I always want to send that one. It's like, bam, like the like like on top of a rooftop, or like an epic shot on top of like a dune or something. Wherever I'm at, right?
Not basic,
Yeah,
something innovation, something new, something that is hard to achieve,
Yeah, and when I honestly like now that I think about it, one of my biggest things that happened was with Live Fit when I first came out here.
Let's go.
Randall really gave me, he, without even really trying, I don't think he like intently was like, oh, I'm gonna like do this. He was just like, hey dude, we should shoot sometime or something. And I was like, yeah. And I knew him because my the girl I was dating at the time was an athlete.
A sponsor. Oh, dude, connection,
yeah,
bro,
so,
networking.
Yeah, he kind of like was like, he gave me like we did a shoot, and he kind of like gave me this really dope like shout out from one of our shoots. And
nice.
That really like,
was he big already?
Yeah, Randall was pretty big at the time. I mean, like his Live Fit was like a super established brand, but like he really gave me a really big boost when I first moved here. Although I don't even know if he ever knows how much he did, but he just kind of gave me a shout on Instagram, and like I got a bunch of business from it. It ruled like that, and I just kind of ruled from there. He gave me like a nice little head start just by giving me like that, and I worked with him like off and on a little bit, and then like he did do a lot of stuff in house, but anytime he ever needed me, he'd hit me up, and
that's good.
I would do some stuff for them, and
but I mean, I know you're saying that he helped you a lot, bro, but I mean, how I see it, I mean, yeah, of course he's helped you a lot with giving you a shout out, but I think the fact that you boost or you blow up is because your work, right? Because if you wouldn't deliver something cool, like, yes, just another videographer, but the fact that you over deliver, like, oh shit, who's this guy, So I think it's a 50-50,
I'm not totally saying like, oh, like
absolutely.
he gave me this or that.
No, of course. Yeah, because I always said, I see like people working with like a lot of like big celebrities, influencers or whatever, and I'm like, they're like flexing that they're working with them, but I know they're not gonna over deliver or deliver. So I'm like, dude, it's just a quick flex. That's not gonna, which sucks, because when you work with the big companies or whatever, you have to like you said, have a process, think about it, do over deliver, and like do something creative with it.
Yeah, innovate. And I think that I honestly think too, with that, I kind of was still, when that happened too, it was kind of, I don't know. I just was always really grateful, really, because I'm just a dude from Missouri, dude. There's like so many dope guys out here. We're out here, dude. I was just like stoked to like just like be able to work with someone like that, and I don't know. I made like, what's crazy too is like when I'm in Missouri, I made some like really cool friendships before I even got here, like with Quest, and I have one of my friends I still work with. She kind of blew up at the same time as me. Her name was Gallucci. We started shooting. She found me. I actually messaged, or like she worked with this guy. His name's Next Level Media. He does a bunch of
he's gonna be stuff, he's gonna be here soon.
So Omar, Next Level, it's crazy. I've never met him in person, but he did this video with her, and she had like 20,000 followers. I was like, yo, this is so sick. And she's like, oh, hey, she hit DM me. She's like, yo, you should, or next time you're in LA, you should hit me up. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, I'm actually moving there in the fall. She's like, oh, that's so sick. Dude. And like, I only had like a couple thousand followers at the time. I'm just still like learning my camera and shit. And then when I moved out here, we shot, and we just like became like really good friends. We still shoot together to this day, and then she blew up. She's like 1 million followers now, and then like,
so you guys know each other when you guys were starting.
Yeah, there's like there's stuff like that, like Quest, and I knew Jason. Jason, him, he used to be roommates or whatever, and like Jason before he's doing everything now. Like I was friends with him like then, and
it's good to see everybody's progress.
Yeah, no, it's so cool. When you know them from the beginning. One of my favorite things, man.
Yeah, they were killing it. Like said, same with actually it's funny that you mentioned Quest, because I met your work. I found out of your work because of Quest.
Oh really?
He posted a picture like, oh shit, this is fucking dope, dude. Nice. Wide angles, fucking, I was sick. Who's this guy? And I tap on your work, I'm like, fuck, dude, there's more competition in the industry side, I mean, it's a healthy competition, but I'm like, fuck, there's somebody better than me out there. I have to like keep going, you know?
No, that's the best way. I think a lot of people kind of get caught up in this, like, oh, I'll never be good. Like, I never looked at it like that. I'm like, dude, like, let's go.
Exactly,
like,
exactly.
I always, like, that's why I felt like networking always really worked so well for me whenever I moved here, because I was always like, it never was competition. It was more like, I just want to be around creative people. I'm inspired by people like that. Like, I want to, like, go out and, like, do this dope shit and, like, you know, come back. And, like, that's how me and, you know, one of the people I work with, just, like, it's still super close with a Chua dude. We go out and, like, every time we're together, we always do something, like, super dope together.
Yeah,
so, like,
absolutely.
you know, like, it's never like I'm jealous or mad. It's like, no, I get hyped when he does something dope. Like, he does for me too. It's like, and that's the way it should be. Like, that's what, like, art and creativity and the community really should be about, is like, you know, motivating, inspiring everyone, you know,
and learning from each other.
Yeah, no,
it's always something you can learn from each other.
That's what always got me so hyped. I almost like the community about it, like, and just being around other, like, people that are as passionate as me about everything. That's, like, you know, like, when I first moved here, I was just like, man, I would get up and drive to wherever. I didn't care. Like, awesome, you know, like, I was doing the same thing when I was driving to Kansas City every weekend.
Yes.
I just wanted to be in, like, the urban and, like, the community, the creative community that was really big. And in Springfield, this city that I lived in, it was just wedding photographers and and it just wasn't my thing. And then, like, I found a community up there, and I would drive there every weekend. I really didn't care. I was like, I just loved it. Like, and that passion drove me, and it kind of never really ended when I moved here.
And
then it kind of, you know, with COVID and everything, I had really wanted to, like, back to what we were saying, like, whenever I, like, kind of was, like, growing here, is like, with COVID, I had doing this, like, travel adventure stuff, and I started getting some opportunities to where I was gonna be able to travel and get paid for it, or, like, at least have my trip comped, and, like, I would trade for work at the time, which was, like, a big deal for me. I didn't even care it then. I'm like, dude, I just want to, like, this was one of my big goals when I very first started. And I was doing it a little bit. You know, me and my friends had organized a trip in Iceland, and, you know, we got everything paid for, and we made money, and it was, like, cool. It was, like, the first trip like that. I'm like, damn, this is how we do it. This is how you do it. This is, like, you can do this, right? And then whenever people started reaching out to me, to where I didn't have to reach out, I was like, dude, what the heck? This is crazy. And then kind of COVID hit, and I kind of, like, bring everything back to my chest and be like, okay, we got to get back down to the ground level and kind of, like, back and just grinding it out and make things work. And I, you know, at the end of the summer, I was kind of just, like, burnt out. I'm like, man, like, you know, I was just kind of finding myself creatively. And then, you know, I kind of, Alex, my partner now in Palm Place, he was kind of like, yo, we want to start this, like, you know, thing. And I was thinking, like, man, maybe, and I just go with my intuition too. Like, and I don't say no to, like, you know, then I started with streetwear, and then I went, or graphic design, then I went into photography, and then I got into more video more, and then the street, then I did adventure travel stuff.
Like, try everything.
And then, like, whenever he's like this, I'm like, I kind of fell in my intuition. I'm like, yo, maybe let's just try this now. You know, like, I'm totally open. That's why I feel like I you know, I always, like, love learning new skill sets. Like, that's why I do graphic design. That's why I do video and photo, and I got into color grading too, and I doubt I'm like the most crazy editor, but, like, I do editing too, and like you know, I'll do, like, sometimes I'll do, like, OnlyFans, sometimes I'll do portraits, sometimes I'll do this, do that. Like, I just love the game. Like, I love
the variety. Do everything.
Yeah, like, I just like, I love learning new aspects of it, and it excites me. You know, like, I'm like, God, like, now I'm like, it's just, there's so much to learn, and I always get so much back in return just doing it and learning new aspects of the art, you know? So
yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with you, like, the fact that you're, like, learning everything. I mean, it's hard because, like, people think it's easy, you know, like I said, like, color grading is hard.
I mean, I'm still totally trying to learn. I'm, like, in year one, like, you know, like 6-7 months deep, dude. Like, you know,
like, think it's easy, you know. I hate when people ask me, like, oh, can you send me one video so I can learn how to do one effect? Oh, man. I'm like, dude, it takes thousands of videos, dude. I watched literally, even, like, till this day, I watched, like, 3 to 5 videos of After Effects, just random stuff to learn something, dude.
Yeah, like, even one of the most recent things I've been learning is just, like, animation a little bit, dabbling in a little bit in After Effects, just and it's kind of, like, going back to, like, what I'm doing right now with the agency stuff. Is, like, you know, ads and, like, moving pictures, stop motion. How can I, you know, make, and then even some of, like, the 3D images where I'm, like, you know, moving stuff like 3-dimensionally with photos and piecing that together with videos, and, like, just, like, bring it all full circle and kind of, like, it's where it's one big, you know, it's cool. I really, that's kind of, like, been, like, the new thing that I've been learning lately, and it's been a lot of fun with that. But just always just kind of, like, because I feel like what we do is like you kind of have like you want to like have like your bread and butter. I feel like photography is probably like that with me, but like
Nice.
it's cool just like adding these little tools to your thing, because I have all these different like, you know, when I started with design, I had like a visual like thing with that. It was like, okay, I see things a certain way with design. And then when I did photography, it was like, oh, I see a certain way with that. But then that helped me with video, and then video back to that. And then like when I was learning color with that, it learns back to my like photography and like things like that. Like, you know, like, and like whenever carousels first came out, they're like big, and I'm like, oh, now I can use my design aspects with that. Like, it's not about knowing everything. It's more just like, it's just inspiring me in different areas. And I'm just a curious person, and like I really love what I do.
Dude, I mean, I can tell you what you do, man. Like the way that you use your work, dude, it's funny because just in the morning I was shooting here, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna bring this, not you, another guy. I'm gonna bring this guy to the podcast. And like, oh, really? You're gonna bring this guy? Not even that good. And then like, oh, I'm gonna bring this guy tonight. You. And dude, he watched it one time. Yeah, he's the one. He watched your pages for 1 second. Like, dude, you can see the difference between one guy that actually loves it and know what he's doing, and then from someone that's like, it's like not as good, which sucks, you know. Everybody thinks I think it requires talent. Everybody says hard work beats talent, but I'm like, nah, dude. I'm sorry, but like this requires talent no matter what. On my opinion, I
really appreciate those kind of words,
absolutely, man. Like I said, every time you post something, bro, and it's like, it's not a basic picture. It's something that I fuck with this shit.
I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me.
Yeah, man.
It's like it's just I post like intently too. Like if I have something, I'm not just gonna post some like mediocre shit. Like I want to like it to be like a lot of this stuff that I share is more like really moments. Like I had a picture of my boy that's like standing on top of a dune. And like me and him were like, we just sent it down to the dunes down here. What do they call it in San Diego? Right outside here.
I know I've never been there, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And then we just sent it one weekend. I'm like, dude, I've never been to the dunes. Let's go.
Nice.
Dude. And I just remember that moment. And I was like, dude, it's like when I edited, I just like I was thinking like, dude, I want to capture what I had, like my feeling and I had in my mind at the time.
Dude. So like a
and the sun was like so low, like you know how it goes below, and it's kind of like just the whole sky is just filled with color.
Dude, that's dope as fuck, dude. That's
and it was just, and that's like whenever I like create something like that and I share, it's more like I want you to feel like what I felt like during this time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
and like I have some like meaningful posts, but like for me sometimes it's more just like I just think this is cool sometimes too. Like,
so basically, you post for yourself. Like, you don't post for this.
I mean, I don't say that necessarily. Just like, oh, I only post for myself. I want people to like be inspired, like too. Like I want you to like feel like what I felt. Like,
yes.
And I think that kind of grew. When I very first started, I've obviously everyone just like, oh, this is cool, like whatever. And every artist kind of, that's like what art's really about, is sharing, you know. And you know, I think over time it was more like it became a thing. Like I understood, like as you grow as an artist, you start understanding the relationship you have with like your art and like how you're sharing it, right? So, and like what it means to you and like how you want people to feel a certain way. Like that's how I am anyways. Like whenever I share something, I'm like, I want you to like see this moment or feel this thing that I felt, or, you know, even if people don't get it, like it's still there, you know? And the people that do get it are like, oh dude, it's like you know, you took that photo and like, I feel like when I see it, I feel like I was there, you know, or I felt something like that. Like,
hell yeah.
And that's what I'm always like, yeah, that's like why I do it. I want someone to like, kind of like see that and feel it, or be inspired, like to like go do whatever. Like I have friends that like said like, dude, like, you know, blah blah blah, and they're doing something completely different. They said like they're inspired by work like that, or like they want to do something like that. Man, that means the world to me, because that's, you know, this whole thing means so much to me. Like it really, art and creating and sharing with people and things like that, like really changed my life in a lot of different ways, you know. So
yeah, it's funny how like I was thinking that like the other day, I was like, I'm making money and supporting my family in Mexico just with this thing, which is the camera. This is amazing. It's crazy. Dude. I'm like, holy fuck, I will never. I mean, I wasn't even trying to do this, but I'm like, okay, I have a talent, I'm making money, let's fucking keep going, you know. And it's just like I didn't know I was gonna be making this, and then next thing you know, I'm like, I don't want to say known in the industry, but somehow people likes my work, and I appreciate that. So that's why every time I see your work, I do this fucking sick. I appreciate your work because I'm like,
I've had fun watching you grow.
Thanks,
Trust
man.
me, dude. Like, your work's incredible.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I actually had a guy at work be like, "Have you ever seen this guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going on his podcast." They're
Let's
like,
go,
"Oh, you know," I'm like,
dude.
"Yeah, dude."
Let's
He's like,
go,
"What?"
dude.
I'm like,
Yeah,
"Yeah."
it's funny because the first time I met you was when you did a shoot with Austin Martin, right? With
Yeah,
Chua.
like it was a couple months ago.
Yeah,
right?
that was a couple months ago, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna meet Chua and I'm gonna meet visuals, dude. This is it. I was so excited that I do it. It's gonna be fucking dope, dude. Because like I said, I see you as like a celebrity, bro. Like because your work is fucking stupid. And the thing is that I know how much goes through every shot. You know, people also know the industry. They go, it's a cool picture. But me, that I'm in the industry, I'm like, yo, I know how many time that took. I know how many lights he used. I know how much those lights are. You know how much. I know how much he spent editing time. You know, I have an idea.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know exactly what time, but I know you put a lot of work in one single piece. And
I
that's
really
crazy.
appreciate that, and sometimes I'm like, I actually enjoy it. I love the process, dude.
Nice.
Like when I'm just sitting and
Nah, yes.
and just
Putting
trying to like, you ever get like a
music,
photo and
dude,
you
vibing,
know
dude.
it's dope, you just gotta like figure it
You
out.
Go home, bro. Go home.
Or
and
you had
edit.
like video too. I'm sure how many times you got in a clip. You're like, I know this can like,
Yes,
there's
dude.
something here.
Yes,
Just gotta figure it out. You know,
Yeah.
like, and you might sit there for like 5 or 6 hours. And you're like, oh, and once you get it, it may take you like 5 hours to be like, oh, okay, now I know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
And then and then your vision really comes out. Like I feel like, and I feel like obviously that time and that process as you gain experience, like obviously like slows down or like it's not as long.
No,
but,
of course not. No.
Whenever you're like, cause like you start adding these like little tool things, like these little attributes, and it really, as you grow with experience, it's like, oh, I remember I did this one time. Let's try this, and that leads to another thing, and then like
do something different.
Yeah, it's like and like I was saying about having the different skill sets and different like experiences. That's why I'm totally open to like. That's why when they're like, hey, let's go do this studio stuff with Palm Plays.
Yeah.
And this like agency, I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Like,
Let's
because
do
I
it.
knew I was just gonna
Nice.
grow from it. Like, I had never
Yes,
shot studio
exactly.
before that. I was like, well, we're
Yes.
gonna figure it out.
Yeah, you do a lot of natural lighting, right?
What's that?
You do a lot of natural lighting when it comes to your pictures.
Oh yeah, like I was shooting mostly outdoors.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think I'd shot in maybe a handful. Like I think I shot at Live Fit Studio a few times
Nice.
before that and stuff like that. But other than that, like I didn't know what I was doing. We just figured it out. And it's like, I thought in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I know my camera. I know I've taught myself all this stuff. Why can't I learn this?
Hell yeah, dude.
And it's still, that's what we were talking before we start, before we turn the cameras on. So I was like, it's like, I don't think anyone really knows how to do anything until you do it,
Exactly.
Like, and like lighting is like probably one of the hardest things in the industry.
Hardest,
It's like people literally get paid to set up lights, and we're over here trying to set the lighting up and do this and do that.
And use some small stuff, small stuff that makes a difference.
Small little
dude.
stuff,
Small stuff.
It's crazy. And I watched also Jason, when he
His
first
work's
started,
so
just kind of
clean,
like
dude.
go up and like I watched his
dude.
production kind of grow, and I'm just like, dude,
His work is so clean.
now
dude.
now
Sharp.
now I look at stuff like that and I'm like, dude, I just appreciate like how good his stuff looks, and how, like I'm like now that I've kind of like learned some of that stuff, and I'm like, dude, that guy's crazy, dude. Like
it's
like he
funny
does.
'cause I was like,
It's wild.
it's like I mean, it takes like, I don't know, 1 hour to set this up for us, right?
Oh yeah.
Now imagine for movies, dude.
Oh, I know.
To get like a
It's wild.
3-second fucking scene.
It's wild.
It's
yeah.
crazy. And people doesn't appreciate that. That's when like somebody watches a movie and they say, oh, that movie sucked. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up, dude. Even if it sucked, dude, it's like you don't know how much it went through it.
No,
dude.
even
don't
stuff
know.
like, sometimes clients don't understand. Like when we at Palm Place, we're like, kind of price out product photography, and I'm just like, dude, it's gonna take me an hour to set up this whole thing. I'm gonna have to bounce on this light and like, and then we swap the products out. Okay, now this one's white, this one's this color. Okay, now we have to like change all this stuff, and like I might not even take a photo for another 45 minutes.
Yes,
like,
yeah, and they think
so
it's easy.
like
dude.
it's also too like we were saying with experience too, like you get faster, you get better, you learn different techniques,
and you learn how to communicate with your clients, too.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
mean,
super important. That way you don't fuck up over yourself. It's like.
Oh, it's just it's just the process too is like there's learning too. Sometimes it takes a little longer and stuff like that. And I feel pretty good with it now. Like, after like a year, I feel
you're too humble, dude. You're
good.
fucking bitch. You're too damn humble.
I'm like,
You're
I still feel.
bitch,
I still feel like I'm in a space like with my daily like with Palm Place sometimes where I'm like still like learning.
That's good
It's
though.
like
That's good.
every day, and trying to get better and. especially with like studio stuff, it's like a whole nother realm.
Yeah,
you might as well
it's
just,
fun
I
though.
feel like sometimes I'm just starting from ground zero.
Yeah, absolutely,
all
which
over
is fun
again,
though. Something different and something you know is like you said. The only thing you're missing is information. You can learn everything you want.
Right.
But the only thing you're missing is information.
I feel like we obviously do like really good work, all of us.
Absolutely.
And but it's just like still you're like, okay, how can we get this better? How do we
Yes,
get like this over guy over here? Like it's not like a jealousy thing. It's like,
No,
oh, I'm
no.
inspired.
Hell
It's
no.
like I want my like I want to do stuff like this.
Yes,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah. And how's it working with a team though? Because for me, like I like working by myself, and like I can't envision myself working with somebody else just because the way I am. I'm like too perfectionist.
No, yeah, that was a big thing. I think whenever we all first got together, it was like I'm in this like just running around by myself thing where and then I got into a space where there's timelines and there's multiple people on projects, and I'm over here trying to make this one thing like absolutely perfect. And it was something that I had to like get over. I was like, you can't spend, X amount of time on one or do this or like, and if you do that, you need to stay up and like and after hours, and if you want it to be perfect, it's gonna be on your own time.
On your own.
And when I started doing it like that, I'm like, okay, cool. Like some stuff, if I want it, like it's a huge client or like something I really dig, or like, then okay, cool. I'll take it home, finish it at home.
You have to.
But like when you're working with a team on a team atmosphere, you kind of have to change your mentality. You can't just be like, okay, I'm gonna drag this whole or like like I might be a part of this and like they need the photos for the website or like this or that. Like I need to like speed up my process to make sure that like we're all cohesively working together.
That's crazy.
So like you have to kind of like everything can't be like absolutely like perfect.
On point.
It can be, it's obviously gonna be amazing, but like we're not over there like fixing like one strand of hair that's floating, or one little like or like making the concrete perfect. There's like this or that. Like that's little. You kind of have to be like, okay.
You're like, okay, fuck it, we'll fix it.
No,
We'll
it's not
figure
that
out.
there's anything wrong, but like obviously just like you can't be like a psychopath about like everything. Just it's more like like there is like a. Sometimes there's a saying that says like finish is better. What is it? Finish is better than done, or done is better than
something like that.
Perfect or something like that. Yeah, it's like that's kind of like the mentality, like having something like trusting like you shot it well, and like trusting like your instincts and the way and everything. Trusting that and not trying to make and like everything. Sometimes there's imperfections are good. Like
I mean there's no right way to do it. Well, I mean there's some rules, but it's not like, oh, shit has to be that way. Like nah, dude. I mean that's my style. Why does it have to be that way?
I think perfectionism too can kind of like be
unhealthy.
A growth it can impede your growth sometimes too. I think that I think this is being this agency that's one of the biggest things I think they taught me is like not everything has to be perfect. I know absolutely, like I'm like, and if people don't get this, it's like perfectionist in terms of like everything's lined up, the sun's like every little thing is like
every single
roll
thing,
of thirds, everything's like
dude.
no, people don't notice things like that, and like it's that at that point it's like art versus like something that doesn't need to be that.
Absolutely.
Finding like that place for it, like if you want something to be absolutely perfect and this and that, like that's gonna be on your own time, especially when you're working in a team kind of atmosphere. That was
the biggest.
That was a big thing for me. And I'm like, because I'm like absolute perfectionist.
Yeah,
like
I can tell you were talks about it. You
well, I just like I honestly too is like I just like would always like almost like make things bigger than they need to be. Like, oh, this is just like a photo shoot for this and that. Like they don't really. It doesn't need to be like a 10-hour like make everything's perfect and like do this and do that over the top thing or something like that. Like sometimes it's just like
Yeah, I mean it makes sense because I mean nowadays in social media, dude, you can edit a picture and they post it and then people's gonna forget it the next day. I'm like, you kidding me, dude?
And like when it's for you or like something that like you really like put a lot of thought into or like stuff like that. Maybe that's some a place for perfectionism. Perfectionism is something I really I've learned a lot about myself and kind of knowing where that should go and
where you can do it. Not all the time,
It's helped me a lot actually.
Nice.
Kind of like just in an agent, like in a team atmosphere kind of like situation.
That's nice. It's funny that you mentioned right now the rule of thirds because when I met you, dude, you guys were like, oh man, we're running LA. We need to shoot this right now. We have to find out composition and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, these guys, what are you guys talking about? I didn't know all these terms, dude. And I'm like, dude, it's funny that you guys like take a care of all these little things, you know. I literally went home and looked up composition. Even I've been doing photography. I've been doing photography for a year, dude. I'm like, dude, that's crazy. Now it makes sense, you know.
Well, yeah, it's like
every little thing, dude. Every single little thing.
Yeah, like the depth. Remember we moved the car away from the
Everything,
wall
dude.
because we knew we didn't want just things. There's like little things. It's like how we wanted to shoot it, and we actually ended up changing how we edited it completely at the end. Like,
and how you
crazy,
tell me a little about your experience on that day, when you shoot that car, because I mean you were running out of time, right? And then the location was kind of like different that you expected. I don't know.
No, it wasn't. The location was difficult. It was for first of all, Chua like set up the whole thing, which was super dope.
Yeah.
And then he's kind of like, yo, I'm gonna let you just kind of take the reins and see what we do here. So I was like, oh man, I'm like running around. Like,
cool. Yeah,
we were like an hour, and I'm like, oh no, like
so
the car's like kind of not perfect. I'm like, okay, we're like bouncing light off this, and like, oh no, there's light over here, and it's like, so we're trying to like just get. So like basically in my mind, I was like, all right, we just need to make sure we get like 4 or 5 angles, and we'll get multiple kind of like shots in between there. Just because I knew if we had like five like bang bang bang, at least we knew we had 5 money shots, and we can kind of like make things work in between. And we kind of just, you know, we set it up to where we had like the one wide shot of the car, and then like the headlight shot, and like there was 3 of us, me and Chua, and then I think Timmy got some shots too. But everyone was we were rushing, so we're all kind of like, and we're shooting our own shots while he's on the other side of the car shooting.
Yeah.
So it was like we were just kind of rushing a little bit, because we were just
crazy.
trying to make it work, because we had rented we had gotten the car, you know.
Yeah, for 3 hours, something like that.
But yeah,
right?
Audi had given us the car, and we were just trying to make things work, and we like time limit with this, and like I was saying, like sometimes things don't work out, and that's when you kind of have to fall back on your like your function, like your skills you've learned. Okay, so what are we gonna like? And I feel like that's why things, you know, and the way it was shot, and then the way we edited it.
It was perfect.
The way we made things work, we just made things work, man. Like,
no matter what,
I don't even think it was. We both looked at the photos and we were like, man, I don't know, these are the best. And I was just kind of like, I feel like we got an idea. I feel like we can make this work. And here's the idea I had. And
nice.
You know, I shared it with him, and we actually just ended up making it work. I was really stoked on the way it came out.
They came out great, dude. And something that I can like, I say this like, I mean, you were mentioning this right now. When it comes to like when you're under pressure, dude, the first thing you should do as an advice for like creators or whatever is get your shots first, and then kind of get creative, you know, like get what you have in mind.
Get what you know,
exactly.
Like,
then like experiment if you want, but if you have time. If not, dude, you find under pressure, dude, have a time limit.
That comes down to plan. Like I honestly, that's why I give, you know, Chua a lot of credit, because like when you plan everything and then something goes wrong, at least you know we had the lights there, we had this, we had options, like we had come prepared.
Yes.
And like that was the first time I've ever been on a shoot with him where it's like not like,
no
because Chua was like, oh, look at boom 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 boom
really?
boom, like, you know, we're shooting
there,
845 with this, and we're going to 220 this, and then it's like everything is like,
dude.
you know, if something gets messed up, you're gonna get it. Like
no way.
that's the way Chua works. So like
nice.
That was the first, which was really cool kind of experience with him, was like kind of first kind of shoot where everything kind of was kind of haywire, and we were pressured, and we're running around. That's dope,
though. Cool experience to talk about, you know.
Yeah, it was cool, and we kind of still made it work, which was dope.
Yeah, it did.
But yeah,
that's no, man. And when it comes to the business side, right? Do you feel that you're still learning, or do you feel like you're on the I think that's one of the hardest part when it comes to being creative, you know, so you be able to sell your work. Because when it comes to like all these people, they all want free work. They'll want to do it for cheap, and then you have to learn how to say no, right? Or it depends, you know. Sometimes I still work for free if I see something that is like gonna benefit me, right?
Yeah, I think it's probably the hardest thing, and I think anyone, you know, obviously some people get it better than like we were just talking about Chua, who's fantastic at that. I don't think he's ever really struggled with that, but. Someone like me who's more on the artist, like I'm more like I will do this shit for free. Like
I know,
like,
dude, same,
I straight up will do this for free.
Yeah, and I'm
you
like,
know, like,
I love it. You know,
like
have a dope idea, let's do it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll bring up a scenario. It's actually happened over the summer. There's a brand. It's called Talentless. A friend sent them to me like, hey, it's this big celebrities brand, and they were trying to quote us, and like I was like. One of our guys at work they handle like the negotiations and stuff, and he was like, oh, you know, this and that, and they were like, he gave him like a really good price, because like I was like, dude, I'll fucking do this for free, dude. Like I don't give a shit, like, and I was trying to like let him kind of like, because I'm trying to like we're in an agency setting, so like we gotta let this, you know, kind of let him do his magic, and they were just kind of crazy about the amount of money they want. It was like, I'm basically shooting this for free.
No way, really.
But like, I would have done it for free though.
Absolutely.
Straight up. But like, that's me and that's me saying like, I like love what I'm doing.
Exactly.
And it's just a cool brand. But like, he was right. We got to stick, by that. Because what happens is you set a precedent whenever you do something, for like cheap, like super cheap. And I feel like a lot of people get stuck in that circle, man. Like, I think I'm not the best at business, but I know like I learned my value over time, and I feel like I'm fair. And the other thing is too, is you have to realize that people don't know how much this stuff costs. So you need to know who you're talking to whenever you're pricing
gotta educate your clients
too. You need to educate you can educate your clients, but I feel like you can offend them too.
True.
Or like look like you're, I don't know. I feel like that can happen too. But
yeah, you gotta be careful
really
what
just
you
like
say,
understanding, like
understanding
like who you're talking to whenever you're pricing. Like, some girl who just like wants her Instagram photos, she's not gonna you're not gonna charge her the same amount you would charge
somebody that is making
vitamin water or something that wants to like work with you, or like some corporate company like that. Like, you have to understand like who you are, and if that also too, like if you get to a certain point, like whether that's your like who you want to work with, like like if you want to work with those people, then you need to bring your budgets down to where it fits them. And like I feel like at a certain, you have to figure out what you want to do. Like if you want to work with influencers and like work with lower budgets or something like that, then that's just what you want to run around doing $200-$300 photo shoots all week forever.
I know
you're gonna run yourself into the ground,
and you're gonna burn yourself. I always said, bro, either there's two reasons why you're getting hired nonstop, right? One, because you're charging too cheap, and two, because you're good at what you do. And I really hope it's because you're good at what you do.
There's a lot of good photographers out there that like it's like a pricing is like that stuff, like understanding who you're like working with at the time, like who's asking you for a thing.
Exactly.
And then also understanding like your value in terms of like how much you've grown and what you bring to the table. Exactly. Or you can also do like tone down what you do and work with someone and help somebody out. I do that all the time. Like
I do that all the time too.
Like it's like, oh, I really like this person, I want to help them.
Yeah.
Let's make this affordable for them.
And then you build a relationship. You never know if they're gonna blow up.
There's some people that are savage and are like, yo, I'm not doing anything under $2,000.
Yeah,
or like,
like
I have friends that don't edit like their editing things are like $4,000. Like I don't touch anything under $4,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, no, same, bro. Like,
like, okay. I mean, that's dope, but like, you're like,
you
have to understand your value, what you're bringing, and if you want to work with these people, like these, people, or help someone out, or like whatever, you need to like.
I like that, dude. Yeah, I think something that I have to do, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of those guys that I won't shoot if this is not the price, right? But the fact that you're saying you have to learn who you're working with. They might be starting right now and they don't have the budget. They probably put everything into their business and they have this small budget to like show it, help them out. I never thought about that.
As a creative too, it's tough, dude, because like it's like I just said too when we very first started this conversation, it's like sometimes you kind of shoot yourself in the foot by like making yourself too cheap. And like we had, I've done that in the past where it's like you're trying to help someone out and then they grow and they have money, but now it's something like, oh, it's like, you have to be like, hey,
and it's something
we can't do it, I had trying to help you and you don't want, now that you're kind of off your feet, it's like, these are my prices, or like maybe my prices change because like maybe I get like you should be pricing yourself as like busy as you are, like I mean, if I'm editing, if I'm like, let's just speak, whatever. If I say I'm a YouTube video editor and I'm charging, $300 a video or $200 a video, and I'm like 20 videos, like, am I gonna make? I'm gonna make the 21st one $200? Like, no, like, like I'm obviously really good and my services are good. Let's charge a little bit more, and maybe like, cause like actually getting, there's like a little sweet spot.
It is.
And I'm sure you've ran into this too as your skills have grown. It's like there's a little sweet spot where it's like you're scaring away all the BS work. Exactly. Like, but you're getting like, enough.
The legit ones.
And that changes too. It's pricing is so tough. And I don't really have to do any of it anymore now that I'm.
Oh, that's good, man.
Because I'm with the I have guys that are a lot better at the pricing and like selling, like, and I don't really have to do with that anymore at Palm Place, but. And they're way better than I am. And, obviously we all kind of like, whenever we get a new client, we're kind of like, hey, what do we think the scope of work here is?
Oh, nice.
And we try to make it fair,
Nice. Yeah.
We're not trying to like, whatever.
Yeah, I had that experience with a client recently. I priced her for my new quote, right? And she like, last year you charged me this much. I respect your work, but I just want to know why you're charging me almost as double.
Well,
and
that's
I'm like, well, it's been a year. Second one, I hooked you up because you were starting. Right now, you're like blowing. Like, dude, I deliver something that was worth 1 G's, and right now I charge you like $300, you know. And it's like, now I'll give you my normal price. It's still a hookup because I'm still charging way more, but you know I like to working with you. But it's hard, man. Like it's hard to like you said, it's not to scare them.
Well, too, it's like I feel like as you kind of like you're scaling up, now you have decks. Like, okay, this is why when you're pitching to somebody, like, okay, we would like to do this for you, and here's what we're gonna do. Like, it's gonna cost this. It's gonna cost this. Time editing, like everything's broken down. I think that helps a lot too with the sale. You can really do that with. I mean, if you want to do it on a smaller client, like a fitness video or something, you could, but it's like kind of sometimes like overkill is a waste. Is it worth your time? Stuff like that.
Exactly.
But if someone like a bigger, like a brand comes with you and they're like, how much would it be, for this? You can give them like a quote and then break down, okay, I'm going to bring in an editor for this because it's this, and really have to look at the scope of work, obviously, and see kind of like what they need. If it's like a bigger thing, you can bring multiple people in, or just kind of run it yourself or whatever. But like all that comes into like kind of like how you price it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that way it's all laid on the table. I feel like honestly too, when it does like that, you look more professional. You kind of, people can kind of see how their money's getting spent kind of in a way. I think it helps a ton. That's why I think when you start doing stuff like that,
I need to get better at that. I don't do that. I need to get better at that. But it makes sense though.
Chew are kind of pounding that stuff in my head.
Really?
He's been a great friend in the industry for me. That's good, yeah. Kind of, because I'm like I was saying, like, I'll do this for free.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I'm terrible.
Some people might see it bad, man. Like, oh, you're shooting for free. I'm like, man, I just want to help people. I like doing this stuff. And I'm like, I mean, what are you... speaking of working for free stuff, what are your thoughts on Spec works?
Spec work is like super important, man.
Right?
Yeah, I think... especially when you're proving yourself, like, and like spec work, I've done tons of spec work. Sometimes like, cause like how are you going to show a client you can do something if you've never done it?
For those who don't know, a spec work is basically a fake commercial, right? If you wanna, you can shoot a fake commercial for Nike and put the logo, right? That's what a spec work is. And I agree with you. I mean, how can you show a client what are you going to do with it without
let's say you want to, you have like your target. This is where it comes from, knowing like what target audience you want. So like you did the Fear of God spec one, right? Like you say, hey, I would love to do high fashion brand, obviously like Fear of God, right? So you're like, okay, I'm going to shoot this thing so I can, whenever I reach out to these brands or these companies come to me and say, hey, this and that, I have something I've created already. And they don't like, it's like, I could do this, but I would like to do it like something different. And they trust you because you've already executed a vision. Yeah. Like and also too, it's like when you're pitching someone an idea, you're literally coming at them being like, hey, pay me for this. And you're like, why should they give you any money? And you're like, look, I have proof of like my creative idea coming to life. Here you go. Now like that like helps with this trust factor when you're hitting up someone blindly, when you're reaching out and stuff like that. Like being like, I have already taken a vision that we've created from nothing and done this. And this is why you should trust me, you know, with this budget and this idea.
And the best part is that there's no limits when it comes to being creative, Yeah. Like, it's your work, whatever you do, go all in. That's the best part.
Yeah, and I think those are like the most fun, dude.
Absolutely, dude. Experimenting, playing around and stuff. It's funny because, like you mentioned, that Fear got a project because today somebody reached out to me. They want to do a campaign with that look. I'm like, dude, say less.
You just did it.
Like, yeah, exactly. That's
and sometimes it's like not even. It's just honestly, that's how all my work started. Just me and my friends running around, traveling for fun. Like I got a bunch of work with me and Chewer running around in Death Valley, like just freaking like like run around Sunset, like, and we did some cool shots there. And like, dude, if you can do their whole thing is if you can do that, I know we can trust you with this. That was always the thing what clients would say to me is like, that's why kind of like I got into this space where I'm like, oh, I gotta go here, I gotta do that. I got caught up in that, like, oh, I gotta like one up myself or something, because I always knew if like I would do something way out there like that, they could trust me shooting. It's like this or that, like downtown LA or something.
Nah, I agree, man. I mean, how about 10 more minutes, man? Yeah. Let's, how about I want to do this section called "What Would You Rather" course.
Okay. Yeah.
Self-explanatory, but it's gonna be about the creative industry, right? So I'm gonna do 3 would you rather questions, and you respond whatever you feel like, right? And then we'll go from there. So the first one, let me see, and it's gonna be sick as fuck, dude. It's would you rather only be allowed to use the same camera forever or use the same computer forever?
Oh, I'd rather use the same camera forever, dude.
Really?
Computer, because computer, bro. Computer could be.
Yeah, you're
that
right,
could be sketch, bro. Like my computer's hanging on for
Yes,
dear life right now. I got 2 keys that completely gone, and one that's like hanging on for dear life. I know I can take it in, bro. And just sometimes I get too busy, but yeah, my computer is hanging on for dear life. I have used it to its exact to its extent. So I don't know. I can't imagine using the same computer forever. I could use the same. Dude, this Sony A7 III, man, it's gonna be good for years.
Oh yeah.
Like honestly, it's yeah, it'll be good for a few more years. I mean, so I honestly think I can make it work for a while.
Yeah,
dude.
No, I mean, and everything.
As far as like photos, anyways, not video. Video's a little sketchy.
Sketchy. I know. I was moving fast.
A year or two from now, it'll probably not good enough. But I feel like I could rock photos for quite a while before that.
No, I agree with you, man.
My machine though, editing, it's getting kind of skeptical.
I agree, man. I mean, and are you a Mac user or a PC user?
Mac, dude. I'm a Mac user.
What? I'm a PC, man, just because I'm cheap, you know.
I get it. You get a little bit more out of it. I grew up on the Apple system, dude. I couldn't not see me leaving.
No way, really. Yeah. So you were saying you're kind of like not afraid, but it would be hard for you to like switch.
Oh man, I'm an Apple.
Oh, you're just loyal.
I'm an Apple fanboy too. I honestly have all the products, and I just love. I've never had. I mean, my computer is literally falling apart, and it still works fine. Keyboard's falling off. All I do is give it every once in a while I have to just clear it out, hit the what is it? We just start it over. Restart.
Restart.
Just clear the whole thing out every once in a while. That's like a brand new computer every time. Apple's great, man. And it's all the programs work on it great. And
interesting, dude.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm an Apple fanboy, but I get that there's better. I know that there's better, cheaper solutions.
Yeah, I use cheaper solutions, and it's the only thing I like about my PC is that I get to have 3 monitors.
Dude,
I love that.
There's tons of benefits.
I mean,
there's a lot of benefits. You can upgrade your chips and your GPU and your RAM, whatever the heck you want.
Cheaper and stuff. And I mean, it's nice. But I mean, when it comes to Apple, I'm not gonna lie, it's design is on point. It's super cool.
It is. I honestly, I've never had issues in terms of it actually the functionality of it.
Nice.
It always just. No viruses, none of that stuff, and it's always Apple's always been kind to me, and that's kind of I feel like that's been my user experience with it, so I'm kind of just sticking with it,
Good, perfect. Let's do the next one. So the next one is: would you rather have a client that pays you one? Wait. Oh yeah, would you rather have a client that pays you on time but only asks for one change, or have a client that takes 2 to 3 weeks to pay, but that's stupid. That's not right.
Okay.
Would you rather have a client that pays you on time but asks you for a lot of changes, or have a client that takes 2 to 3 weeks to pay you but only asks for one change?
I don't really I expect changes, So I would rather get paid on time, dude. I would rather get paid on time. I would rather get paid on time.
You probably don't get any changes.
Yeah, right, dude. You have no idea.
I know it's a pain in the ass, man. I mean, that's the only thing I don't do events.
Some clients, and I know you know this, when they get their final product, that's when the edits begin. I know, I feel like I've gotten I remember a few years ago I'd be like, God, why don't you appreciate what I've done?
I know,
I put all this time into it, but you have to get over that and realize that
learn how to be flexible.
Well, you also you have to realize it's not your vision, it's yours together's vision, right? So they have an idea of what they want, you have an idea. And sure, you can rein it in, but there's some clients that just want certain that you may give them exactly what they want, but they want their own spin on it, and that's just the way it is. It's you have to kind of check your ego and be like, absolutely, we are literally creating. We're a service. You're a service. We have to just. Our goal is not. This is not my this is beautiful. My original idea is probably better than what they want. I always think. I feel like every artist feels like that because it's your vision.
You know what you're doing.
But at the end of the day, is you're handing this off, and
they're paying you for it. So
right, it's there. You're sometimes when you have a product or whatever they have that you're creating for, they're very passionate about this thing.
Exactly.
So like they may, and they, some of these people, some clients, they're very like attached to their thing, and they want to have their own spin or their own kind of thing on it. So I think over time I learned that like, you know, you should expect changes. Some people are like, they're not as connected. They're just like, oh, this is dope, cool. You know, hey, change the text style or like, you know, change this or that. They don't realize, you know, obviously you gotta just kind of like let go of that. Like there's gonna be edits, man.
There's gonna be edits no matter what.
Like I learned that from like design too. It's like like I did logo design for it, and like t-shirt design, like graphic design for like years before all this stuff, and I kind of learned it from there too.
That's for more changes there than anything.
It's just like, man, that's just part of the game, man.
Probably,
it's part of the process, you know. You kind of have to like take your feelings like, oh, like this was perfect. And it sucks. Like you can keep that and like show your boys like, yo, this is what it really looked like before, you know.
And it sucks.
Yeah,
and it really sucks. Like I always say, you know, you're hiring me for a reason. You know, like I don't want to say I know more than you, but you're right though. They have a vision. They probably have to be flexible with it, you know.
Yeah, and I think that paying on time thing is like, I feel like it's just someone just showed like I mean, like whenever we've done some bigger stuff over the summer with some like more corporate companies, and you know, they like sometimes don't pay for like 60-90 days.
I know, dude. I know. And
you know, it's another one of those things. It's like
I'm delivering fast. You gotta
look at your like who you're working with. Like again, like with the payment and like this, like everything else, it's like you can get frustrated, but you really have to like remember who you're working with. If it's like some influencer or some like little clothing brand or some whatever, or some like little boutique fitness you know, studio or whatever, it's like that fitness studio might pay you, and then like maybe you go do some big thing with some company and they're like huge and like it has to come down the wire, you know, and they would not get paid for like 3 months or something.
No, yeah, you're right. No,
so you kind of have to
adapt.
Yeah, it's like it's just like the relationship with it. You just kind of have to like remember like who you're working with, you know.
Big time, man. Next one, let's see. Let's see. You want to speak on? Okay, it's pretty good. I know it's gonna be good for you because you like to travel. It's would you rather shoot in one city or one town every week, or never be able to shoot anywhere else but your city or the town you were born in?
Oh man, totally.
But you have to like move every week. Every week you're like,
I love moving around.
Oh really?
I love it. Like I love going to different places.
But you won't be able to stay there. Never.
I would never be able to stay in one place. I would freak out. Yeah. I love just like every time I go to a new city, I'm like just trying to figure out like these new things.
And like you said, networking, dude. Like it's good. Always good to like meet new people, meet new experiences.
It, man. I'm
learning that right now.
If I have time and I'm in a city, I always like try to like link up with. I'll hit people like if I used to when I had more time, would look up like, okay, who do I know in the city, or who do I follow, or who would I love to network with it and stuff. That's how I met people in Chicago too. I know tons of shooters in Chicago now because
damn, dude,
I went up there and I was like, I would found one person and like we networked with them, and then like you know another time I went up and met with this person. Like,
that's dope, man. That's a good experience for sure.
Yeah, it's like cool. And now you kind of like, and then they're in LA. They hit me up. It's just cool. The networking, the photography community is really cool.
It is.
I think when you open up and you kind of share experiences and stuff, I feel like it's a community where it can be labeled as like people are scared of sharing knowledge and things like that. But in my experience, I've had really good like experiences around like experiences with other creatives and like sharing and being like humble and
nice. I like that.
And
I like that.
I've had like super dope experiences, especially in LA. I feel like I don't know if I just like maybe ran into like really
good
dope
people
or what. I don't know, because I've heard other people say maybe not so nice things about it, but I've really been blessed to kind of like be around some like really cool people. And
I agree.
I have a really good, you know, view of it, like networking and
nice. You do, man.
Yeah, just put yourself out there, and anyone that's like new, that's like literally how you grow, man. Like just
and helping people out, you know, like because we've been there when we started. We didn't know what to do. So when people ask me stuff, I do. Here's all my secrets. I don't give a fuck.
You think? No, like you know, it should be. First of all, you should be confident in your own work, and you just like, there's not a. There's
plenty of work.
There's plenty of work.
Plenty of work. There's stupid crazy work for everybody, dude. Yeah. Everybody.
There's enough for everybody. There's more work than there is creatives. Trust me.
Honestly, dude. Honestly. Man, it's been great.
Yeah.
I have one more last question. What would be an advice that you can give to somebody that is starting in the industry?
Oh, advice. I would just say, I would wouldn't worry about like the result, like the things you're putting out when you do that. You have to like focus on like what you have to figure out like what you want out of it, and that can sometimes take time. So you shouldn't worry about like, oh, like I suck, or oh, like I'm not good as this person or that person. Like I feel like you should really think about like where you want to be at a certain time, and realize that like this is a process, because I feel like the process can beat you down, especially when you first. You want this look, but it's like it just doesn't happen for a while, dude. Like it just doesn't. You gotta suck. You gotta suck. It's like I feel like you have to kind of like, and you figure it out with time. Kind of figure out exactly what you want to do. You won't know what exactly you want to do, but you say, hey, I want set some like obtainable goals. Like I'd love to like do this, or like I'd love, to travel here or do this, or maybe get my first client by this day, or like, or be like. Whatever, like just have some sort of like goals. Thing, and like realize and just like understand this, and like and just like, and that's just like respect for the art too. Like these people that are doing all this crazy stuff that you look up to, like they didn't just learn this overnight, especially in video. Video is crazy.
It's crazy, insane.
But and there's levels of video that's wild, but
yeah,
it's like just understanding like you gotta like respect the process, respect your own process, because you'll beat yourself up less, and because you can really talk yourself out of this game like really quick.
Yes.
I met a lot of guys that I first started with that don't do anymore because they just they literally
quit.
Beat themselves up out of the process, and they were super talented people.
And it's sad.
And I really wish that didn't happen, but you can really kind of talk yourself out of it, and it's not about, you kind of just have to just go with it, man, and challenge yourself. And honestly, dude, that would be another good piece of advice, is just challenge yourself, dude. Like that's how I've gotten everywhere. Is everything I have today is because I was always like, oh, how do I learn this? How do I learn that? Yes. And I was never the best at any of these things. Like it's just like these little things I just started piling up, and it made things easier for me because I'm just like always just trying new stuff, trying night photography, shooting like long exposure. Okay, now we're gonna do portraits. Now like I'm over here doing clothing and shoes and like. Now, like I'm doing, like I was telling you, this year I decided to do like we start this company where we have an agency. I've never done agency before. I don't know. Like obviously there's all kinds of lifestyle elements to it where everyone involved is like super experienced in, but like it's like, yeah, I've never done product photography like with like all this stuff. I had to like figure it out, but it challenged me and made me a better photographer. Now I know, I know stuff about lighting now that's helped me with like lifestyle stuff and natural lighting.
Let's go,
and like
dude.
Understanding all that stuff. You know,
that, man.
It's made me a better overall.
Yeah, I agree. You definitely have to shoot with an open mind all the time, and have fun, dude.
Just
honestly.
Be willing to learn, try new stuff. Like you may want to be like this person, like maybe you want to be Sam Coulter or something. Like Sam Coulter and Sam Coulter just doing, doing backflips on the things, dude. Like he's amazing at Photoshop. He tried all kinds of different stuff in this and that and storytelling. That was his natural gift of storytelling. But like you think that he just like wanted to say became Sam Coulter or like any of these other guys like Short Stash or whoever else you look up to. It's like these guys. I mean, Short Stash was a graphic designer before he did photography.
You see my shoe, dude.
Like, and that's honestly like why he's like one of the biggest guys I look to. But it's like. It's just like be open to like learning all this stuff. You learn a little bit from everything, and you until you find your thing, because you don't even know what you're
exactly. You know what you're into. I agree. I'm barely finding my style, dude. I'm barely finding what I want to do. After 3 years,
and it'll change. It might change,
and it might change.
Mine's changed a bunch of times.
Exactly.
I used to love shooting buildings, dude. And then I started hanging off them, shooting. Then I was like, now I'm in a studio. It's like completely different.
I agree with you, man. Challenge yourself, try new things, do your best all the time.
Yeah, man. Just try everything.
Perfect, man. It's been great, bro. Thanks so much. Shout out to Maji. It's been fun.
Thanks for having me, man.
Bro, it's a fucking pleasure, man. I feel like I'm nervous, bro, because my shit, bitch, like it's crazy, man. Thanks so much, man. Shout out to Hendo Studios for letting us use the spot, man. I love it. If you're in San Diego, come here. Hendo Studios, like you can create anything you want here. And also shout out to my production team, Chris and Priscilla back there. The ones that make this happen. They're gonna make my job way easier and then make me look official over here, right? So thanks so much, guys. You guys killed it. Brandon Visuals, man. Thanks so much, man.
My pleasure.
Pleasure, bro. We gotta do a second round for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. Maji, thanks so much.
Yeah, man.
You're big time, bro.
Yep.